Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris and you read the title right. They're wanting to make a female-led reboot of the 1994 classic, The Mask. You hit that dislike button as soon as I said female, didn't you? Didn't you? Guys, I am just a messenger. You swear I'm calling Hollywood making these decisions. Yeah, hi, Mr. Hollywood. Yeah, can I get an order of a female mask reboot? Extra estrogen, okay, please. If there's testosterone, I'm gonna send it back, okay? I'm sorry. I can already understand the frustration and the annoyance that some people are having when you hear the words female reboot. We got a bad taste in our mouth from when the Ghostbusters of 2016 came out. Now, admittedly, while I didn't hate that movie, I enjoyed it for what it was. Them labeling it as a female reboot really did not sit well with people and started adding a political agenda to it. And me not being the type to let that nonsense get away with my love of films, I think a female-led Mask reboot could actually be pretty amazing. There are some details from the creator of The Mask about what they're wanting to do with this reboot, but let me just set the stage and let you know this is a reboot. It's not a remake, so they're not trying to replicate the story that came out in 1994 with Jim Carrey, the Stanley Ipkiss character. That movie holds a high special place in my heart. I absolutely love Jim Carrey. 90s Jim Carrey was the peak. Leave a like for 90s Jim Carrey. We need that guy back. He's trying to make a little resurgence of it in the Sonic movie, but I think that's going to be the only best part of that movie. What he was able to do with the role, the kookiness of it, the rewatchability of it, that movie holds up to this very day. So they're not going to repeat that exact same story of a guy down on his luck who's a hopeless romantic, also in love with comic books and cartoons, and then wears a mask and stuff unfolds. They're not going to do that. They're going to create a new character and they're going to tell a new story. And before you get upset and act like you're a diehard Mask fan, if you go to the Wikipedia page of The Mask, there have been over 20 different people who have worn the mask from the comic book where the character of the mask had originated from until we saw it on the big screen. There has been several female versions of the mask already. There's really no reason to be upset here, so let me go into some of the details the creator said about what he wants to do with this reboot. When first asked about it, he said, "I'd like to see a really good physical comedian in the role. I have one in mind, but I'm not going to say her name. We have to do a lot of convincing for this particular actor, but we'll see. You never know what's coming in the future. We have some ideas." So going off that right now, let's dissect what he said. So he wants a physical comedian and obviously a female, but getting away from the female side, a physical comedian. Okay, well, if you're not trying to replicate the story that happened with Jim Carrey in 1994, it's kind of interesting that you want to go with someone physical, because I would think if you're going to set a new story, if you're going to tell something brand new, you're not going to want to imitate a Jim Carrey character with a female actress. And Jim Carrey is very physical centric when it comes to his comedy. But then again, maybe those are just character traits of the character of the Mask, so that's just something need be in the role. Now, the other part that's interesting is they say that this actor would need a lot of convincing to get into the role, meaning they're not some lowbrow, barely starting up comedian or someone that's hot right now. I'm thinking this is a high-tier female comedian actress, and there's not that many of them around. Just like any comedian, some are popular for a while and then you fade into the background. So I did pull up a couple of female comedians that I think could fit the role and maybe what they're hinting to. One, when we're talking about female veteran actresses, I go to Sarah Silverman. Obviously, has been in the business for a long time, very funny. Physical comedian, I'm not sure about that, so maybe we might have to scratch her out. All right, then we have Amy Schumer. Moving on, I think my number one pick of who I think they're going for is Tina Fey. Some of you might not be all that familiar with Tina Fey, but she has been a comedian in the business for a long time and has done a lot of great work. Hell, she's responsible for the girl movie Mean Girls. I think put the mask on her and she would be fantastic in the role. Haven't seen that much physical aspects of her, but I bet she can get into it. So that would be my pick. Before going on to the next thing that they want in this female reboot, they're also talking about make this more grittier and darker. Now, if you don't know, the character of the Mask from the comics is pretty freaking dark. He is basically a murderer, an anti-hero, real bloody, disgusting, crazy time. What they did in the cartoon and the 1994 movie, and hell, even that abomination of Son of the Mask, who admittedly, it's a guilty pleasure because I saw that as a kid, but it's kind of a hard watch now. It was toned down for a family-loving aspect. What they're wanting to do is possibly an R-rated movie or definitely bring out some of the more dark darker, twisted humor side, which just sounds fantastic, and even more when the character of the mask is something like Deadpool, that does tend to break the fourth wall, is self-aware, and that just makes it all that more exciting. Going on to the final details that he said here, I'd like it to be another character film about a person dealing with absolute power. The whole theme of The Mask was we all say what we would do if we had absolute power, just like Stanley Ipkiss. When we get absolute power, we often resort to the most petty of endeavors, and it's overcoming our human nature and using the power for good. So basically the movie would be very character centric. Now I just wonder what this character will be. Is she going to be a failed stand-up comedian? Is she also going to be a lover of cartoons and comics? Because the character of The Mask is whatever you are inside. The Mask brings that out of you times 1,000. Look, you've heard me yap about this long enough. What do you think about a female reboot of the character of The Mask? I think it's about time we bring that character back. With all the visual effects we can do now, there's some great things that can happen. Who do you think will be cast as The Mask? Any female actresses in mind? My mind went to Kate McKinnon, but I think that's too obvious, and I think she'd say yes right away. Also, I would think she's the closest thing to a female Jim Carrey in terms of physical comedy, and you don't want to imitate Jim Carrey. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.